Hey, everybody. Welcome to Old Fashioned Catholics.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Nick, and we are Catholics who drink old fashions. We're just two friends who we film after 11 p.m. usually, because that's when anyone in their vocation is finally settling down to have some free time. So we always look very tired, and we don't make a lot of sense. We have also found
Take it back.
that
Take it way back. Take it way,
take
way
away
back.
way back. Nope, can't do that. We have also found that our show is best enjoyed if you are sipping on some sort of beverage. So if you'd like to push pause, you can see on the screen right now what Kevin and I are drinking tonight, and we'll wait.
I would like to propose a toast.
Okay.
I would like to propose a toast to the last guest that we had, Sister Anna Marie, because she did not know how to give a toast and was unwilling to try. So I would like
Didn't
to
even
toast
try.
to her and her health and the fact that she could probably do way more push-ups than either of us.
To
Cheers.
Sister West Point. Amen. So Kevin, how was your day? What'd you do today?
Worked a long time, but I took a break to record a video with you, which was really fun.
That was fun.
Yeah. And other than that, not a whole lot to speak of. You know, put the kids to bed. We did the whole books thing, and they were crazy thing, and we played a bunch of games after dinner.
Something happened with your furnace?
Oh yeah. I had to put in a new pump. So there's a condensate pump, is what it's called. And I am learning very slowly how to fix things in the house. I came in his house not able to do anything. And just through people teaching me things, having people over the house, people willing to give their time and their energy to help me repair something or fix something or update something, has allowed me to just do some basic repairs. So the pump goes out, the furnace starts leaking water all over the basement floor. And so I had to replace that tonight, new wires, and I felt like an electrician for a minute, but you just copy what's already there. So
Well, it's cool because we were getting ready to film, and I was like, so Kevin, are we going closer to 10:30? What? So it's 11 now, but he was like, well, closer to 10:30 because I'm changing out the pump, or I'm fixing the pump on my furnace. And I was like, man, what a man. What a man.
yeah.
You're probably down there in your Zubas watching YouTube, but still, what a man.
Yeah, I did it in my boxers only. It's great. How was your day? You're still without your two youngest kids and your wife, so there's probably like a mix of you probably have mixed emotions.
It's weird. So 3 days before Jason ever leaves, I get a pit in my stomach, and I hate it when she's gone. She's gone. She's doing this FAA certification to be an FAA medical examiner. She was supposed to go with her mom to Oklahoma and have like a mom-daughter trip while she did it. But the zombie apocalypse has changed that. So she flew down to Georgia to be with her parents, and she was going to take the baby, of course. But then as a gift to me, because I've been pretty fragged out lately, she took Hudson, who's our 3-year-old, and took him with her and just sort of gave me that time. And I was like, oh, I can get so many projects done. And she's like, no, you're not. You're going to stay in bed all day. You're going to read a spy novel. You're going to rest. You're going to sleep when you get tired. And so she left on Sunday morning, and I have not read yet, but I've spent about 20 hours in the garage out there because it was filled with all of our. Kevin saw it and said it would take, what did you say? What would it?
I thought it would take a man 100 years to tunnel through that.
There it is. No, and I will be done in the morning, and it will just be a completely cleaned and swept garage that we can push the one Trailblazer that's dead. We can push
do you have a before picture at all?
I do. It's the only time in my life I've thought of. Yeah.
We are attaching a before and after picture to this video.
Okay.
So people can see all the good work you've been doing in your wife's absence.
It is astounding. And so I've been today, actually, it had been 2 hours since I had said anything, which never happens. And I was in the garage just working, and I had an audiobook going.
Like quiet by yourself?
Yeah.
That's not normal for you to not say.
No, I don't get to go. I don't get more than 11 minutes is unheard of, where I don't have to, like, I don't know, somebody defecated or whatever. So I
Mm,
was just out there, and I mean, I had defecated in the garage, but I cleaned that up just fine because it's my mess.
right.
And I decided at one point, I was like, man, this is such a gift. I texted Jason and I was like, man, just thank you, darling, because I'm having, I'm just having time for my mind to just kind of just wander. And yeah, to find a place. So it's been really good. And I'm listening to a like a murder mystery type thing, and just, I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, it's been good. So it was a good day. It was a good day. It's funny. I am the more present parent because my wife is the one who works hard. So she's the one with the career and all of those things. And that doesn't, I don't need the, like, well, stay at home is the career as well. No, it's not. It's not. I mean, people, not to diss any of the moms out there who stay at home. It isn't the same as going to work. It's different. I mean, well, work is home. I know, but it's different. So it's okay to say something's different. So I have it way easier. And we always think that the kids, Jacelyn thinks that if she goes away, the kids won't notice because I'm the more present one. I'm just around, but it's not true. She's been gone since Sunday, and Davy and Esther, the two youngest that are here, it's every few minutes they walk up and they'll just be like, I miss mommy. I'm sad. Well, Davy, he's 9. And at one point he came up and he said, Dad, the house seems somehow empty without mom. I was like, first of all, who taught you how to talk? But second, you're absolutely right. It is. It is. So anyway, so that was my day. It's been a good day. In fact, if we weren't able to film, I'd be still out there till about midnight, just kind of getting it done. But to get the chance to hang out with you and do this, I did that.
Yeah, so good. So I think what we should talk about tonight is something that we've both toyed around with, and that is just our complete, uneducated, unresearched thoughts on if we think the Catholic Church in America is going to exist in 20 years.
Yeah. Now, to again emphasize,
We've done
unresearched.
no research, like none.
Yeah. The
Other
research
than
that
our
we did was, we said, what were we going to talk about? And he said, Catholic Church. Oh, okay, that's it. That's our research. So that's all.
Indeed. But on the positive, we both have extensive experience in youth ministry. So we had years dealing with teenagers coming up through confirmation prep and their parents. And that is, in my opinion, a unique insight
It is.
into what's going on, as well as, because of that, being friends with a bunch of priests in a diocese and hearing from them. So it's not just a tiny sample size. You have a large sample size with a lot of anecdotal evidence. Which brings us to that topic of, do you think the Catholic Church is going to exist in 20 years? Your position.
Yes.
In America,
yes.
specifically here in this country, not in the world, because it will always exist in the world till the end.
And also, I would like to say, anybody listening, take this how I mean it. That's
not going to happen. Not in the age of Twitter.
Okay, that's true. That's right. I told somebody recently, I have actually truly lost all hope in the ability of social media to do anything good. I'm sure it can, but I'm just too dumb to understand it. But that aside, you may disagree, and that's fine if you disagree. It's cool to disagree. And I won't even say you have the right to have an opinion, even if it's wrong. Just know you have the right to have an opinion. That's fine. But I would just say, we're just saying these things that we think. We're not really, like, this is just putting us out there. So we're not making a theological statement, besides, I have a theater degree, and I don't know, what did you go to school for? Was it vocal?
Business and music.
Oh. Musical business, business and musicals. So as soon as the musical world in Broadway takes a turn towards business, it's you.
I'm there.
So that's the extent of our education. But I would say yes. My stance is yes. Where do you land?
So my position is that it will not exist as we know it in 20 years.
Okay. I'm going to let you take the lead. What do you see? What do you project?
So what I project is a continuation of what I have seen anecdotally.
Nope. So, ladies and gentlemen, Kevin has a medical condition where he occasionally, once in a while, just completely freezes. He's
So what you
unable.
have is,
Oh, and he's back. He's back.
I'm back. All right. Was I frozen?
Yeah, I was
Sorry,
explaining
did
that
I
you
have
have a
one of my
unique medical.
seizures again?
Yeah, you have a unique medical condition wherein you're unable to move or breathe, and so we're just really glad to have you back.
It's called Tin Man syndrome, where I just freeze and it's just the right amount of oil gets me going again.
Okay, pause. So I think in The Wizard of Oz, which is one of my wife's favorite movies, we watch it every year. I think one of the greatest lines, and this is just me again, but I did go to school for acting. I think one of the greatest lines in cinema, comedic lines, is when they find the Tin Man in the woods and they're like trying to talk to him. And he's like, and they're like, what? And he's like, can. And she's like, he said oil can. And the guy's like, oil can what? It's just, for me, I feel like that was like 70 years before its time. He's like, oil can what? And they just move past it. I'm like, that's a beautiful comedic line. Anyway, so you were frozen, but you popped a pill and you're good. So you were saying.
So I think that there's going to be continuation of what has been happening. You have, you take a crop of specific age children. They come up through sacramental prep. They get through high school, and young adults who are Catholic, they graduate high school, and in our experience, maybe 75% of them stop practicing their faith. Maybe 25% of them keep practicing their faith into college. So all of those people, 25% keep practicing their faith in college. From that group, maybe half of them enter into their vocation and practice their faith into adulthood. So if that were to continue, which it's been going on that way for at least 20 years, I don't know, maybe longer, maybe 50 years, maybe 40 years, as that progresses, what you have is the current state of affairs is a church in the United States that's totally split, that is kind of secretly split, where you have people who say they're Catholic and people over here say they're Catholic, and they don't believe the same thing. Mm-hmm. So you can look at the evidence of polls of how many people who are Catholic think that the Eucharist is Jesus, right, or how many people who are Catholic agree with everything that the church teaches as handed down from Christ and the apostles. So if you just take that number, the church is way smaller than the people who check the Catholic box. If you take the number of young adults who are practicing their faith and staying in relationship with Jesus in their Catholic faith in adulthood, and you take that number, you have a way smaller number than the number of people that would, check the box Catholic. If you have the number of people who are, in their 30s, 40s, 50s, middle age right now, who would check that box Catholic, but don't believe Jesus is the Eucharist and the Eucharist is Jesus, or don't believe that when the church teaches something definitively that it's binding, things like that.
Yeah.
Like, you get to a number that might be 1/10 of the number of Catholics we think we have in the country. So sure, let's say there are, supposedly 70 million Catholics in the country or something like that, 60 million Catholics in the country. It might be more like 6 currently. And 10 years from now, it might be 1 million.
Right.
And, that's a very, very small minority. So I'm just mind dumping. So you can react now.
Well, no, I think that's, I think you're right in that regard. I think I fall in line pretty much similarly in that, yeah, it won't look like it is, but definitely still existing, obviously. But years ago, I don't know, I wrote an article, and I don't remember what year it was, but Penn Jillette, do you know who Penn Jillette is from Penn and Teller?
Yeah, I
Okay.
watch Penn Teller Foolish clips all the time.
Okay, so Penn Jillette was
I have a crazy
actually,
story about him, but
well, it might be the one I'm going to tell. Is it? Well, he has two
my
crazy stories.
my dad knows him. Most Penn and
What?
Teller. They don't know
What?
him, but he knows them from when they all worked together at the Renaissance Festival. But anyways, go ahead.
They
Back
worked at
before
the
they were
Renaissance
huge. They
Festival in
worked at the
Minnesota.
yes, before they were huge.
They did?
Yes.
Okay, so if you remember where we are, I mentioned Penn Jillette. We'll put a
Okay.
pin in that. Go. What?
Yeah.
Go.
So
Sidebar.
they were all really, young, and they were all thespians, and like you, they all worked at the Renaissance. So I think at that time they probably did multiple. I don't actually know the facts on that, but what I do know is that when my dad first started working at the Renaissance Festival, that they were there and they had an act and they had a stage, and it was very similar. I mean, they've been doing the same shtick for forever, and it's always
Forever.
kind of been, Teller has always been, the really skilled magician. Penn has always been the color guy, the theater guy, the performer, and has become, quite an amazing, world-class magician himself. But, that dynamic duo. And so my dad had a really, really bad run-in with them at one time that ended up really peaceably because of Penn
Yeah.
Jillette. Ended up working out okay.
Because
And
your
it
dad's a
was
real jerk, right? And then Penn
total jerk. Yeah. 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 And
Oh,
I mean, I don't want to get into details because
yeah,
this is public stuff, but
Well, and he Penn has surprised me. Just he has such a like complete honesty and humility across the board. I mean, because they had a show called BS. It was
oh yeah.
called
Yeah.
Bullshiznit.
Mhm.
But and obviously no sympathizer to religion. But he well, two things. I don't know. So how do we get on Penn Jillette? Just so I know.
I don't know.
Oh, I do know. So Penn Jillette, he had an amazing moment after a show one time. He posted online. He did a live, like a video thing. He got done with the show, and a guy had waited in the line for autographs. And when he came in there, he got his turn. He gave him a Gideon New Testament. Did you know that story? He
I
gave him
do.
that thing, and I watched it the day that Penn released it. That night, it came on, and he was like. And he said, and this guy's a good guy. And he was like, how much do you have to hate somebody if you believe they're going to hell? How much do you have to hate them to not try to change their ways, like to try to proselytize? You must hate them a lot. And I remember thinking like, what? So anyway, years later, so Penn and Teller was the first thing I remember seeing as a magician, because I studied magic for years and I got pretty damn good at it from my
I
friend Keith.
concur.
But anyway, I watched one of their shows really young, them explaining this rocket ship headless trick. And so then years later, I wrote a whole article which Penn retweeted because he was on Piers Morgan, and Piers Morgan identifies as a Catholic, and Penn does not. And at one point, Penn was sticking it to him, basically calling him out on a point. And Penn said, well, I don't really agree with that. It was about some tenet of the Catholic faith. And Piers Morgan said, whoa, wait, you don't get to decide.
No. Piers Morgan didn't agree with the tenant, and Penn said,
Yeah.
sorry, you
Piers
flipped their
Morgan
names.
Piers Morgan disagreed with the tenet of the Catholic faith. And he identifies as a Catholic. And Penn Jillette was like, you don't get to do that. Your belief system, you believe that this, like, basically this system gives you God's word in interpretation, and you don't get to decide and pick and choose. And I had written a thing just saying, like, thank you for being one of the most honest people out there, to be like, no, actually, because this is why it sparked, because you were saying, like, we have people in this country who say I'm a Catholic and I'm a Catholic, and it's not just nuance. It's fundamental. It has become.
It's fundamental.
No, I have the label. I wave the flag as a Catholic, and so do you. But you are fundamentally wrong. And the other person is saying, no, you're fundamentally wrong. So that's why I would say, I don't think it could look the same. It probably falls into that idea of like, it'll be smaller, but stronger that Benedict talked about.
Pope Benedict, if there's anybody I could have lunch with, you always get that question. It would be him. It would be him.
Did we talk about this?
No, I've never talked about this with you.
For everybody watching at home, just so you know, Kevin Pilon and I, we're the same person.
Same person.
Yeah, I'm just the white him. He's the Asian me, which it's not fair that for me to say he's the Asian me, that's fine. But for me to say I'm the white, then it's somehow wrong. But we are, like, our bowel movements are the same. Like I have pictures to prove it.
They hurt.
So yeah. Whoa. Okay. I wasn't gonna. Okay. So anyway, so I always
We're not
say,
cutting that out.
because no, that's staying in. I became Catholic under Pope Benedict. He was like the Papa, like that. Everything he wrote, like Spirit of the Liturgy, especially, but like he was just identified. I identified so much with him, and I used to say, like, if I had my chance, my dream would be to get to hang out with him for 2 hours, but to just watch The Sandlot, like the movie The Sandlot. I don't want to. We'll just eat popcorn. I won't ask him a stinking question. I just want to sit with the dude and watch him watch The Sandlot. So it's kind of the same thing. That's crazy. I didn't know that.
That's amazing, because the man's got an attuned radar for God and the Holy Spirit. It is so obvious. Mm-hmm. And he said that the church of the future would be smaller but stronger. It was him, and I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah, no, it was pretty close to that, though.
Yeah. But that church of the future in our country, I think, will be exponentially smaller.
Yeah. And
yes, it will be stronger, but it will be marginalized. Yeah. I think within 20 years from now. And I think, for us, that's us and our kids.
Our kids, yeah.
Really, really recently, my dad said to me, he said, I feel really bad for the world that my generation is leaving for you and our grandkids because of the way we've acted, all of us, boomers and labels are dumb. But the point was that he sees the way that things are going, and people who have lived longer than us, who people younger than them are so quick to dismiss. Yeah. Those people who have lived longer than us have noticed the change, have noticed the way that the tide has turned, and many of them are saying a few years ago, I don't know if it was 5, if it was 6, if it was 10, that it felt as though a point of no return was breached or crossed. And now we are on that path, and that path can be slowed, it can be mitigated, but it can't be stopped.
We have to just pause for a second.
Sure.
I purchased. It's telling me we're
Yo, what the crap is that?
I know. I purchased it last night. And I did. After we hung up, I purchased it. So what am I logged in as? And I should be logged in as remaining time, 9 minutes and 32 seconds. I did upgrade it. I'm not going to upgrade again, but I clicked on it. Hold on. Don't lose the train of thought either.
Are we recording?
Yeah, we're still recording because we have 9 minutes left. But I don't understand. We'll just...
We'll log back in if we run out.
Yeah, if it cuts us, we'll just log back in and we'll remember where we were.
No big deal.
What were you saying? Because I had a next line.
Well, I was just talking about the
point of no return.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, we had a tech issue. We're back. And we'll probably have a tech issue in about 8 minutes and 45 seconds as well. But Kevin was talking about a point of no return. And actually, it's funny because I watched every minute of the Amy Coney Barrett confirmation hearing.
Oh my
And again,
gosh.
we're not actually being very political right now in this. I mean, we might have political episodes, but we're not being really political. But I've never had a chance where, I don't have a career. I'm just unemployed. My wife doesn't like it when I say that, but I'm unemployed. And so, I'm doing dishes and I'm listening to the hearings and whatnot. And I heard both sides. And it was just very interesting to me because at one point or another, somebody from both sides expressed what we're talking about. But in the very same way, and not in opposing ways, but there's a general agreement. There's a feeling, like it's a visceral, like existential feeling that something's not right. And I don't remember the names because I'm new to Senate, but there were a person on each side on the same day said, we in this room, we all can feel something's going on here that's bigger than just what we're arguing about. And they both sides recognize it. And I feel like regardless of the election, regardless of what happens, there's a difference now. Like you were saying, the older generations can like see it. I attended a webinar type thing of a guy who was talking about soft totalitarianism. That our friend Kyle Eller had linked us to, and I attended it and listened, and he was talking about like people who have been in countries where there were regimes and where totalitarianism has taken over. People are outside of America are starting to become very vocal and saying like, hey, do you realize you're lockstep in the process? You're in soft totalitarianism now. You're in the part where they're beginning to like just blatantly infringe on free speech, or the First Amendment, not just free speech, but everything contained in the First Amendment. That sort of stuff is happening across the board. It's happening to right and left. Like it's not just a fear mongering, a right wing type thing. It's happening to both sides.
Yeah.
There's something else. So
Yeah.
that's going to affect the church, because the whole episode is about, will the church exist in 20 years? It'll exist. Absolutely. Because it can't not.
But we might be hiding.
Yeah.
We might be hiding because if you want to just, start listing off some pieces of evidence right now, what churches are being burned in our country right now? Mm-hmm. What statues are being beheaded?
Religious statues, yeah.
Because are there Jewish statues being beheaded or Muslim statues or
never?
No, because statue. It's not happening. Well, they don't really have that kind of iconography, but it's not happening. What is the only religion right now that you do not get in trouble for hating on or expressing concern about or fear about? Case in point, what's going on in the political sphere right now. You talked about the Supreme Court justice hearings. The only thing you can say right now that is acceptable about a religion and be critical of it is that a Catholic is too Catholic, or a Catholic.
The dogma lives strong in her.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's incredible. It is the only acceptable form of discrimination right now. Discrimination is one of the only sins left in our culture, except for Catholics. So for all of that evidence, I say, how do you come back from that? How do you stop that?
Well, and I think if you take a step back, or if you were able to hover back a bit and see a few centuries or easily millennia, there's an ebb and flow always. There are strength, like strong times of Christendom, and then there are times of weakness, because you get used to Christendom when Christianity is just okay. Like even if it's not Christendom where we're militantly forcing it down people's throats, just there are times when Christianity is just, it's cool. There are times, if you look at any black and white Bing Crosby movie, the priesthood was awesome. Like it was just, he was the coolest. And we're not in that now. We're in, there's a book, it's from Christendom to Apostolic. Oh, I'm blanking on the last word, but Jason and I have been reading through it, and it's put up by the University of Mary. It's all about the move from Christendom to a time when it's just okay and embraced and whatnot to be a Catholic, to what we're in now, where it's you're moving to a different time period, and that I mean that necessarily changes the way the church looks. It's going to change the way, because certain parts of the church, it's funny, it was when we were becoming Catholic, I had this image of, the future, 200 years from now, and if other denominations exist and whatever's going on, they're meeting with, like, and I didn't know how to put it, but like they're meeting with microchips in your head, and you can viscerally just like be there with each other because of the web, and it's all very high tech. And then the Catholics are just meeting in stone buildings with a stone altar, and they're kneeling on stone because it's more like elemental, it's more basic, and they don't change in that regard. There's like a solidity to it that won't change because it shouldn't. And I think that's what's going to happen is we're going to, I don't know how long the time frame is, but I feel like we're gonna be forced to have to be brave and have to be. Jason, we're reading tonight. He Leadeth Me. Have you read that? Have you
Oh
read
my
that book?
gosh, yes.
I just, if you're listening, we'll put a link down in the details. But He Leadeth Me is just one of the most amazing. I find there's no audiobook for it, and I really want to pitch myself to be the audio reader for it, because I want that book. I want people to hear that book. It's his story is amazing, and we won't go into it now because it's not this episode. But anyway, his entire life is an illustration in what happens when you suddenly have to stand up to even sometimes the mildest pressure, and the need for him to be brave. Because and Father Mike just talked about it recently in a homily, but he spends years in solitary confinement, 12 months in solitary confinement, and then they're bringing him occasionally before these interrogators, and it's not often violent. It's just he's alone for months on end, and then they bring him to these interrogators and they ask him to answer, and he naively thought in the beginning, well, I'll just tell the truth, like, because they'll realize really soon that I'm not the bad person they think I am. They thought he was a German spy. No, I'm just a Catholic. I'm a Catholic priest, and I'll tell the truth, and that'll be on my side, and God will give me the words to say. And God didn't, and they regularly brought him before their interrogators, to the point where, when it really came down to the wire, on the final day, he had like a few days earlier capitulated and just said, "Fine, I don't know, fine. You're not listening to me anyway. It's been a year. I'm not around anyone. I'm slowly wasting away." And his psyche, his need to survive kicked in. And he was in this meeting. I just read it tonight to Jason over the phone. He's in the final meeting where he's supposed to sign off every page of his testimony. And he got to the point where he was so broken, without reading them, he just signed them all and got back to his cell and was like, what did I do? And there was this moment of like, I realized I thought I was more. And so he was sitting there in that moment where he had faced basically kind of the lead up, or like the end all to what we're leading up to. He had faced where it didn't matter if you told the truth. It didn't matter if you were kind and compassionate and self-controlled and humble. It didn't matter. He just had done everything, and it still didn't matter. And so if you pause at that precipice before he just signed on to all the lies, that's kind of what we're approaching. And I find that all the time. Like, I'm even a little nervous talking about it now, because my public persona, I've purposely stayed away from anything antagonistic or controversial. Like, I just don't do it. I post pictures of my kids and whatnot. But there has to come a point where, like it did with him, where you're just like, okay, I'm either going to just embrace that you're going to lie about me or not. And in the case of the guy who wrote He Leadeth Me, he did. He just failed. He failed it all. He denied it all. He embraced all the lies. And there's more to it. And it's amazing. That's not, the episode, but that is what has reminded me of what we're up against kind of now, is that idea. I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. It's been a long time since I read that book. Both Trisha and I love that book. And I think she's read it multiple times. I only read it once. And
Well, actually, today I was listening to, I don't know if you've ever listened to Douglas Murray. Have you ever listened to him at all? He
no.
wrote a book last year. He's from the UK. He's a British journalist, author, gay, didn't used to be considered conservative at all. I love, I'll send you a link. I love listening to him, but he wrote a book last year called The Madness of Crowds. And he sort of predicted, listen, if we in the West keep up following where we're going, this is what it's going to look like. And he talks about things. I won't list all the chapters because I don't want to get us flagged for anything. He talks about things that even in his own lifestyle are controversial. And he recently, in the last month or two, released the book again, updated, because he's like, no one listened. And where are we now in 1 year? We are so much farther along and worse than I would have thought we could be. And at the end of the interview, the interviewer says, so what would you give as some advice to the people out there? And he just paused and said, just be brave. Just be brave. Speak out. Don't let it happen. And that really hit me. I was out in the garage working, and I'm like, yeah, I think there's a line, like Kyle Eller said, there's a line between being prudent and being cowardly. And where is that line? I think as Catholics, we're going to have to find that line. We're going to have to be willing not to be discompassionate or to unloving, but to be brave. So,
mm-hmm. Yep. The time for choosing is right now.
And I guess we go about it different ways, different personalities and whatnot. But yeah, I think it seems like we're
right.
So we'll just see what happens in the
election.
election.
I think God is giving us all a unique opportunity in our lifetimes to say, God, I'm going to rely completely on you, or I'm not, or I'm for you, or I'm against you. Because at the end of the day, it's really an either or. There's really no in the middle at the end. You can only be in the middle for so long when it eventually being in the middle means you're against God.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's tough. And I would say for anyone listening, I have missed opportunities. I have a couple people in my life who have left faith, and anytime I click publish or post, it's always them I see before I do it. I don't see anybody who might. I have 170 YouTube subscribers, and I like them, but I'm always thinking of these couple of guys that I know. And before I click publish, I think of them. And I think sometimes I've equivocated and I've watered down what I believe because I love them and I wouldn't want to push them away. But I think there comes a time when you kind of have to move past that, and we might be there, or I might be there anyway. I don't know. It is a unique time, sort of. At the same time, Thomas
sort
More.
Of.
Yeah, well, it is, because Thomas More said, the times are never so bad that a good man can't live in them. So it's, there's nothing new under the sun, but it's new to us. We're hitting it for the first time in definitely in our generation. We've had it so easy.
We had it so
we lived in
easy.
China for 2 years, and I have a friend who he was over there as well, working with teaching English. And he had gone, after living in China for a year or so, he had gone back to America to visit. And he came back and was like, how was it? And he was like, America is a really Christian nation. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Declining morals or whatever. He was like, no, it's everywhere. It's in all the signs. It's in all the media. And there's definitely been a shift from that in a quicker pace than you would think it would happen. In a quicker time frame than you think it would happen. We're at a different place. And so I think the church will exist. I would close my end of the conversation by the finishing of the story of He leadeth me, or not even the whole story, but just he went back to his cell after signing every page of all the lies that they wanted. I mean, he signed on saying, yeah, I'm a spy. I'm not a priest. I'm not any of these things. And he basically denied everything he knew was true. And he got back to his cell, and he was standing in the middle of his cell just saying like, well, first of all, I am not who I thought I was. I'm not strong like I thought I was. And he said, but then something else happened. First of all, I started to say, well, and where were you, God? Like, I was trying to give myself to you. I was trying to, like, you'll give me the words to say, and maybe even my interrogators will turn around and they'll have a change of heart. Nothing, not a word. Where were you? And he said, very quickly, though, it moved from that to God really showing him, yeah, but you weren't really relying on me. You were waiting for me to give the answer that you thought I should give. You were waiting for me to put words in your mouth that you had already decided were the right words. You weren't waiting for me. You were waiting for me to do what you wanted me to do. And like, it was this moment where in his cell, he realized, yeah, no, I failed because of the pronoun I. I wanted all these things. And the success came later after that, because he eventually, he got sent out to Siberia.
Gulag.
To the Gulag. But he got sent out, like, basically by God, because of his denial. So there's just, for anyone who would be listening, who'd be like, well, I don't know, I haven't stood up. I've missed every opportunity. Yeah, that's okay. It's all right. Because God knew about those failures too, and he works it in there. It's not about you. But I am feeling more and more that I think a stand of some kind is going to be needed, regardless of the election outcome. I don't know. Where do you fall?
Yeah, I think that Pope Benedict's words are going to hold true, that the church is going to be smaller. I think the church is shrinking rapidly. And I think that, taking a stand is a good way of putting it. But I think that God is really moving in all of us as individuals to decide today who we will serve. As our family, are we for the Lord or not? Are we going to rely on him? Because I don't think we've seen the worst of it. I don't think we're close.
Sure. Not if history is any indicator.
Right. Like, we've never known. Have you ever really known suffering like the people of history have? And for me, the answer is absolutely not. I've never even seen that.
No.
And many of us are already exhausted and already tired of what's going on, already tired of the current situation, and saying, oh, this has got to be over soon, right? But think about that book. It went on for another year.
Well, and like, it's
and
funny,
then
as
years
we were
after
reading
that.
As we were reading it, Jason, we already know the end game, but we're reading, like, he was so excited. God called him to Russia, and they kind of went in on these wagon trains, or these trains, to go be laborers, and it's going to be great. We're going to minister. And it was like day one that the hammer fell, and they were just, like, arrested, and nothing was what they thought it would be. It got way worse so much more quickly than they thought it would. And when the whole time, like, no, it's not going to go well for you, man. Like, it just reminds me of, and again, I think it's dangerous. I've heard Christians who have a bit too much of this. Jesus said, they hated me. They're going to hate you.
Sure.
But be not afraid. I have overcome the world. And there's, I knew a guy in college who would tell people, well, I'm a prophet, and that people never like the prophets. That's why people don't like me. And I remember where I was, just being like, no, because you're a dink. Like, you're a cocky, arrogant jerk. That's not why people don't like. It's not because of the words of God, but so you can take that too far. But I would say, like, there has to be a preparation within the heart to be like, yeah, okay, whatever comes, I'll try to rely on him. And I think that, the story of He Leadeth Me kind of illustrates that. So.
And I'm so petty. I just want Christmas to happen. I'm like, I just want comfy tree and presents and family, and pretend like I'm a kid again and everything is fine and nothing matters.
I know. I mean, even that, if you think of that level of what we've had, like, we're still going to have presents. Like, we're not, I don't know. But again, I think we have to be prepared for whatever comes, seeing the rate at which things happen. It could happen quickly. I don't know, but
Yeah.
God is good.
Good chat. Good chat.
It's been nice seeing you as well. It's been good to touch base with you.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree with that.
Well,
Have a look at that drink.
We wind down at the end. Cheers.
I think it's the end. Cheers.